You clicked on the video, and admitting it is the first step to getting better. You suck at Deadlock. You're ass, you're garbage. You're throwing your games. Not to be confused with being an uninformed idiot. If you do fall under that category, watch my last guide made specifically for feeding idiots. And remember, if you get mad watching it, then it probably applies to you, and that's your problem to handle. This is in no particular order. Number 1, lose lane on purpose. Sometimes it's okay that you sucked really bad and lost the lane. Happens to even me sometimes, but don't give your life keeping that guardian alive. The enemy gets way more farm if they kill you and then a guardian with no one there to deny it. So sometimes it's okay to stay back by the walker and just deny and secure what farm you can. Then, the enemy in your lane will either start ganking other lanes, which gives you free farm to catch up and possibly their free guardian, or they push up and become easy targets for when you're actually winning lanes to gank them, as they're out of position. However, it is important that you also defend other lanes and your walker. Your team can only afford to lose 1 to 2 guardians if you manage to take all 4 of theirs, otherwise the enemy will simply take your map as their own, and that is a guaranteed loss. Number 2, communicate. So, fun little fact, if you press enter, you can actually type a message to your allies, and if you hold T, you can talk to your teammates. This is vital for missing calls and letting your teammate know how bad that you suck. But for now, please communicate if you're roaming to gank, or if you're looking for an ult, or if maybe an enemy is heading to another lane. That way, if your dumbass feeds a lane in my game, you can let your good allies, me, help, or let them know who the problem heroes might be and they can build accordingly. Number 3, buy unstoppable. There's never ever going to be a game where the enemy won't try and slow, stun, disarm, or root you before killing you. This will never happen. Stop living in La La Land and buy fucking unstoppable if you keep dying. You only have yourself to blame if you're dying to the same shit over and over when there is literally an item made to prevent such a thing. Number 4, eat the weak. Let's say you've been having a pretty mid game. You're not feeding, but you're not exactly killing it either, and your fat ass 7 or Haze is devouring all the farm on the map. One thing you could do is look for the enemy with the most deaths. This is the enemy team's idiot. You can actually utilize this person as free farm, as they usually are dog shit or make very exploitable mistakes. Find them and destroy them for some easy farm. Just don't overextend or do something stupid like jump on them when they have 2 allies nearby. Number 5, out heal the poker. Let's say you're in a lane and you're against a player or players who love poking more than last hitting, but their poke damage is adding up and making it difficult for you to punish this behavior via denying and securing souls. Healing items are your best friend for staying in lane. If you gotta buy restorative shot, extra regen, healing right before any other item, then do it. That way you can keep punishing their poke behavior. They can just poke you all day and you heal it back up, making all their shit worthless. And you can always sell these later to invest into later items. The amount of times I've seen people not buy healing and just eventually die is actually kind of crazy, where I have to mention it again like I did in the last video already. Number 6, edge the enemy. Okay, pause. Hear me out. During the laning phase, if you keep your enemy within 1/3 of their health, chances are they're going to be pretty greedy, as most of us are, and actually remain in lane. But they're usually playing too safe to actually kill them or to really secure any good farm. What you can do is keep them in that small health range as long as possible. They'll be way too far back to get denies or soul secures. Don't damage them too much unless you know you can kill them, otherwise they'll just head back to fountain and then back to lane. You have to kind of edge them. Also, keep in mind if they buy healing right, try and poke them to remove the buff before they get any decent healing off. It's okay to dive a little bit to remove the buff as long as you don't take too much damage. By edging the enemy, you make them play so safe that they would have gotten more farm had they not been greedy and just went to the fountain and came back to lane. But who the hell is going to do that? Number 7, command and conquer. Let's say for once, you are the best person on your team. You're actually the one who's having to carry all the feeders. But, because your team is idiots who only know how to feed, you have to abuse your lead on the enemy team to try your best to get enemies dead in other lanes and push for objectives. Since you are the most powerful player, you're the only one smart enough to wrangle your team of morons in this situation. If you AFK farm and let them continue dying 24/7 and getting objectives, then you might as well abandon game. Start giving orders and bossing people around. If one of those Neanderthals tries to argue with you, remind them that your KDA is way better than theirs and that they're your pawn to use in battle. The best part about this situation is that if he doesn't listen and gets himself killed, your entire team will usually ally with you and shit on him in chat. Number 8, be an earn rat. Let's say you're the most behind. Wait for a teamfight to break out somewhere else, and unless you have a game-changing ult, don't participate in it. Instead, be as close to urn as possible, and when the fight breaks out, run that urn like your life depends on it. Your team will thank you and not be mad that you didn't show up, as you gave them all souls, and you get an extra ability point to catch up, meaning you now suck less ass than you did prior. Number 9. Do not last hit before a reload. If you're shooting creeps in early game and get a last hit, you get half the souls. The other half is the floating soul that you have to shoot down once it spawns from an enemy. This is, of course, before the 10-minute mark, but do not use your last bullet to kill the creep, as it gives the enemy the chance to profit off your stupidity. It's better to deny both you and your enemy farm by not even killing the creep than for either of you to get half of the creep, as you don't know if they're only a couple souls away from a key item or a key level up. Number 10. Familiarize yourself with items. I said this in the Idiots video and I have to say it again. Please read the items of the game. If you're being murdered by someone with an easy counter, that's why you suck so bad, because you're not itemizing your character at all. This game heavily punishes not adapting to enemy builds. If you're being killed by Hazelt again and again and don't buy metal skin, you only really have yourself to blame. Refusal to adapt means acceptance of losing. Number 11. Kill the king. If someone's becoming troublesome and starting to do very well, like an Abrams or Hayes, coordinate your team to kill them, or they'll only get stronger from there. Not putting someone down early has lost me a lot of games. I know this seems obvious, but the amount of times teams just don't group up and kill him is so stupid it's astounding. Don't be the guy who farms while the team tries to kill the king either. Otherwise, you're begging to be stepped on by Vindicta's bare feet. Number 12. Teach your teammates. If you have teammates who suck, then blast this video in your mic or send him the link to the video. Once he learns that sucking ass is all part of the game and it's his fault, he will immediately, hopefully, play better.
Subscribe to DeadHatz or you'll die tomorrow.